In previous session, I have discussed about the interpersonal relationship and managerial effectiveness and there are different types of the skills. Now, I am moving towards that is the what type of the skills that will make you the more effective in the interpersonal dynamics. The leadership in general. First, I would like to talk the leadership in general. What is a leader? Who is a leader? So, leader means who is able to influence the behavior of others. If one is able to influence the behavior of others, then definitely he is a leader. In leaders earlier there were the trait theories, and then the trait theory says that is the if individual is energetic, if he is having the physical ability, if he is having that particular intelligence, only in that case he will be becoming the leader. So, there were the different traits were there about the leaders, but later on the trait theories have been further research has been done and they have talked about that is there are the behavior theories is there. In the behavior theories, one is the managerial grid, and in the managerial grid when we talk about that is 9 by 9 grid is there, and in 9 by 9 grid it has been said Robert Blake and Jane Newton has given, and they have talked about that is the either the managers are the people oriented or they are the production oriented is there. So, they can be high people oriented and high production oriented, low people oriented and low production oriented. So, if a manager is the low people oriented and low production oriented, then definitely in that case it will be a liability for the organization will be there. But there can be the managers who will be the high people oriented and the low production oriented, and that is why many times you see that is they are very highly concerned with the people, but their output is low. So, then definitely in that case also there is a need to increase the productivity is there. Otherwise, you will find that there can be the managers who are having the high productivity. Most of the managers you will find they are concerned with the high productivity, high output, and they are not concerned with the people that much, and therefore, in that case that will be a problem. So, here you will find that is the it becomes important that we are having what should be the then the target should be the manager should be high people oriented and the production oriented is there. But in the case if the people are not high and then definitely there can be the 5 by 5, they are moderately concerned for the production and moderately concerned for the people. So, this was about the one model managerial grid Robert Blake and Jane Newton has given, and then they said the leaders are required to be highly people and production concerned both, but at least the moderate is required, otherwise then it will be imbalance in the production concern for production and concern for the people is concerned. Then another model has come in the leadership in the OBE you must have seen, that is about the Hershey and Blanchard's model. Hershey and Blanchard's model says that is there are the 4 types of the followers. One is the unable and unwilling. If unable and unwilling is there, the leadership style will work, that is the telling style will work. If the person is the unable but the willing, then the selling style will be there. If the person is the toughest type of the followers, they are able but unwilling, and then in that case participative style will be there, that is you have to talk to them, interact with them, try to find out that why they are not doing. Then the telling will not work because that is the autocratic style. So, telling will not work, the selling they do not need. So, what is required? Participating they need, that when you will interact with them you will find out what they are doing and how it is to be done. And the fourth one, and that is the very star performers, that is the able and willing, and then in that case nothing is required, you have to just delegate them the task and they will do the task. So, therefore, in that case you will find that is the Hershey and Blanchard's model has talked about this particular different. Then the contingent theories, in the contingent theories the situational theories are there and different models are there. So, in this different style of the leadership I feel that is the time has come now, that is there should be a servant style of leadership, especially for the organizations in India. You will find that is if you want to influence the behavior of your followers, you should adopt the servant leadership style. If you adopt the servant leadership style, you are able to influence the others. So, in the servant leadership, we will talk about the origin, how this concept has started, and then definition of the servant leadership and dimensions of the servant leadership we will discuss. In 600 BC, Lao Tzu, the greatest leader, forgets himself and attends to the development of others. And therefore, you will find that is whenever we are talking about the leader, what leader has to do. Leader may have his personal problems, leader may have his lot of limitations, but in spite of all this, what is the performance of the leader? The leader is attending to the development of others. He is busy in the development of others. So, therefore, in the process of development of others, he may not have maybe able to fulfill his own requirements, but he is not worried about that. He is not concerned with the self, rather than he is concerned with the others, and therefore, in that case you will find that is the Lao Tzu seems to be started with the serving others. 375 BC, Chanakya's Arthashastra. The leader shall consider as good not what pleases himself, but what pleases his subjects. It becomes very, very important. Making your followers happy, that should be the objective, not to making yourself as a happy person. So, therefore, in that case you will find that is the Chanakya has given this Mool mantra, that is the make others happy, and when you will make others happy, automatically you will be happy. 1st century AD, Jesus of the Nazareth, but the greatest among you shall be your servant. The one who is the greatest among you must become like the youngest, and the leader like the servant, and therefore, whoever is the greatest person, like for example, king is the greatest person, is assumed to be king. So, what should be the philosophy of the king? To serve the people. 1970s, Robert K. Greenleaf, the servant leader is servant first. It begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve first. So, therefore, it becomes very, very important, that is the who will become the servant leader. It is not those who serve themselves first, rather than it is those who are begin with the natural feeling that one wants to serve and to serve the first. There will be the becoming is there. If we talk about the Indian context, in the Indian context we will find that is the in servant leadership the Arthashastra written by the Kautilya, right, that is becoming the main source, the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita, while enlisting the qualities of a superior person, say that he is one who heads to creature, who is friendly and compassionate, who hates no creature, who is friendly and compassionate to all, who is free from attachment and egoism, balanced in pleasure and pain, and forgiving. We also discussed this concept of the forgiveness earlier. So, here you will find that is the who is the one who has no hate to anybody. Whatever the creature on this earth is there is no hatrism. So, therefore, in that case the person, a leader, he does not hate anybody, who is friendly and compassionate to all, full of compassion. I have talked about that is the trust also, and then in that case trust and happiness, it was a condition. Condition was that you are full of compassion and compassionate to others. So, and who is free from attachment and egoism. We all are full of egoism, and therefore, we have to slowly we have to minimize our egoism. We are human beings, so definitely we will be having the ego, but what is important is that is we minimize the ego and free from the attachment is there. Balanced in pleasure and pain. So, whether we are getting the pleasure or happiness, or we are getting the pain, from the society, from our environment, right. But in both the cases the person is balanced person, and finally that is he is a forgiving person. So, if the person is forgiving, then definitely he will be always cool, calm and collective. So, what is important is that is the it is becoming very important, that is the you are required to be a servant leader with the very nice human being. Even the books published on servant leadership set examples of Indian ancient culture. So, this Indian and ancient culture of Arthashastra, Mahabharata and Bhagavad Gita, they talk about the servant leadership. In the case of this particular word coined in the modern era, the Robert K. Greenleaf, largely considered the father of the modern servant leadership. He worked in the 38 years at AT&T and largely in management training and development he has worked. And then for 25 years consulting on servant leadership thereafter, and since last 25 years he is working on servant leadership. Coined the term servant leader in 1970s. In 1970s this particular term has been coined. Founded Center for Applied Ethics, that is the now Greenleaf Center for Servant Leadership, that is becoming the center to serve the others and provide the training programs to the emerging leaders. In case of the inspiration. So, therefore, when we are talking about this servant leadership for these by the Greenleaf, there are certain value systems are taken care of. So, inspiration is the Herman Hesse short novel Journey for the East in 1960s, account of a mythical journey by a group of people on a spiritual quest. So, therefore, it is becoming really a spiritual quest, and the true leadership stems first from a desire to serve, and there it is very important that there is a true leadership is there from a desire to serve is there. The essays, the servant as a leader, the institution as a servant and the trustees as a servant, that has been we can refer those and we can find out that is the how through these essays the servant leadership has been defined. After the work of the Greenleaf, the Larry Spears he has worked. He was the president and CEO of the Greenleaf Center for 25 years and the author of the hundreds of publications in servant leadership, and they founded the Spears Centers. James Otray was the president of the magazine group for the Meredith Corporation, author of 8 books, focuses on the implementation. And the James Hunter, he is 25 years in servant leadership, 2 of the most popular books on servant leadership, and consulted many of the world's most admired companies in case of the servant leadership. So, basically we have to understand who is a servant. The one who serves or who does services voluntarily or non-compulsion. A person who is employed by another by menial offices or for the other labor and is subject to his command. A person who labors or exerts himself for the benefit of other, his master or employer, a subordinate helper. So, therefore, in that case the major features are in the service of another. It is not that you are serving yourself, rather than you are having the service to the another person, and as a result of which you will find that is the person is having the concept, I want to serve others, and making and by serving others it is not forcefully, it is not because of economic condition, it is not any social pressure. Why one is servant? Because he wants to be happy, and what is the means of his happiness? His means of happiness is by serving others. When he serves others, then he feels happy. One who expresses submission and recognition. So, always it is not demanding, rather than it is a submission. So, submission is there, and as a result of which, because of that submission of his services, submission of his the all well wishes to another person, to other person, and therefore, in that case that person is working to serve others. It is not his only mean of the bread and butter. Bread and butter he could get by the other means also, but here his purpose is to serve others, and therefore he gets the recognitions. A person working in the service of another in a subordinate position, so therefore he says, you are my master. Now you talk about the customer, that is, a customer is a master, right. But actually here the person who is in a leadership position basically, but his value system is to make other persons happy, his value system is to serve others, and therefore in that case he himself will be sacrificing, but he will ensure that is the other persons are justified whatever the best way he can do. So therefore that is in a subordinate position. A person who is hired to work for another, and therefore many times there may be the persons or managers, those who are hired to work for another. But what is a service? An act of assistance, a benefit, a favor, an act of helpful activity, help aid, as I mentioned, that is the making the happy by helping others. So it is equally important to your greatness, that is the you are not great because of your virtue of position, but you are great because you are a helping person, and therefore in a helpful activity, and that will lead you as a servant leader. Work done by one person or group that benefits another. Naturally in that case the feeling of work together, learning together, that is existing, and therefore we will find that is the one person or the group that benefit to the another. The performance of work or duties for a superior or as a servant, and therefore it is not that he is more highly concerned with the rights rather than he is concerned with the duties, and highly concerned for the duties, then he will have a superior as a servant. Be of service, to be helpful or useful, and always try to be in the service and helpful to the others. So therefore in the case of the service, it is the act of assistance or benefit, an act of helpful that benefits the another, for a superior as a servant, and helpful or the useful to the another person. Now in servant leadership, the lot of work has been done, and that there are the different dimensions have been proposed by the different authors. First, I would like to take the Lao Tzu in 1999. What he says, that is the servant leadership's first and foremost dimension is development of the people, developing the people, and it is not because of any interest, it is not by looking by the ROI, rather than developing the people for the happiness, developing the people to help others, developing the people to serve others, and therefore that is the development of the people. Then the shares leadership, and whatever the leadership position he has, and then he is having the sharing of that particular leadership. Then the displays authenticity, that is whatever the authenticity is there, he displays that authenticity, and values people. Then that will be for those people, those who are having the value system, and then in that case you will find that is it is becoming the very important for the creating the value system for the people, serving others, and value system for others. Then the providing leadership. Providing leadership means that is the in this particular stage of problem, in a particular stage of understanding, that he is able to give the direction. So if his subordinates, or if the people, those who are looking help from him, and therefore if he is a servant leader, what he will do? He will provide the leadership, he will serve them, try to solve their problems, understanding and creating the solutions for those problems, and builds the community, and as a result of which what he will do? That is, he will develop the community, he will develop a network, he will create a society which we will be having the high value systems, and therefore in these are the dimensions given by the law. Now the Barbuto and the Wheeler in 2006, they have also studied the servant leadership, and they have given the different dimensions for the servant leadership. They have given that is the altruistic calling, and therefore, in that case what makes a person to be the leader, and that is the altruism. And then what for? And that is for the emotional healing. And the people, those who have approach to them, they are having this type of this personal approach for the purpose of the help, because they are into the problem. And when they are into the problem, they need the help, and therefore, in that case they will go for the emotional healing. Then the persuasive mapping. So, therefore, in that case all their activities, direction, the mapping, that all will be towards in the persuasiveness. And a very important word and very interesting word that you may like, and that has been used, and that is the, whenever we are talking about the servant leadership, we are talking about organizational stewardship. So, organizational stewardship is, that is the whole organization is making the serve to others. That is the basic purpose of business actually. The basic purpose of business is to serve the society. The basic purpose is not the profit. Profit is for the sustainability. That I understand. That is, if you want to run the business, you are supposed to be sustainable. But how? And that is by serve the society. And finally, in the Barbuto and the Wheeler has talked about, that is about the wisdom. So, whenever you are using your knowledge, when you are using your resources, and then when your value system is to help others, spread the happiness, creating a community, a society which will be having the high index of the concern for each other, and therefore, you have to use your wisdom. So, wisdom will tell you what is right and what is wrong, and when you will do the right things, definitely you will serve the society, and therefore, in that case you will find that the Barbuto and Wheeler has given these dimensions. The next is Dennis and the Bocarnia in 2006. They have talked about the different value systems. For example, empowerment. So, do not give the fish, but give the fish net. So, what is the purpose? Empower them, employees. Many organizations, what they do, they empower their employees with the entrepreneurship. They ask them, that is okay, you become the supplier for the same organization where you are working, but develop yourself as an entrepreneur, because you have those qualities of to be entrepreneur. You can, but this wisdom, this sharing of the vision, that is making the empowerment is there. I have much talked about the details in my earlier sessions about the trust and how to be the trust builder. So, naturally the leaders they will be able to build that particular trust among the followers. Then, but it should not give you the proud, in the sense that is the you are becoming the person with the superiority. No superiority, rather than humility, and therefore, in that case the proud is there, but proud to be to serve the others. Then the agapao, and then in that case without concern, that is, it is not like this, it is not a business, that is a give and take. Your love system is that is the unconditional. An unconditional love is there, but you are a leader. So, definitely you should have the vision for that particular purpose. So, therefore, the whole vision is to serve the society through the business. The Wong and Dewey in 2007, they have talked about, that is the different dimensions, serving and developing others. As I mentioned earlier, that is the basic purpose of this leadership style. Is not the cherish the position, power and chair, rather than the serving and developing others, consulting and involving others. If you remember, I have talked about the Fairobi, and in Fairobi I have talked about the inclusion. You include others, and when you include others, express inclusion, if you remember, and wants inclusion. So, what managers should have? Express inclusion or the want inclusion. So, therefore, express inclusion. So, therefore, in that case, when he will be having the express inclusion, the people will join him. So, there will be consulting and involving others is there. Then the same which I had talked earlier, that is humility and selflessness, and modeling the integrity and authenticity. This is very, very important. Now, you see, whatever a servant leader is doing a job, unless and until there is no integrity by heart, then there is no purpose of doing the servant leadership is there. Then it is not selfless, rather than it is selfish approach. The person is doing the servant leadership to get the position, to get the power, to get the status, to be famous, right. If this is the orientation, then definitely then it will not serve the purpose. So, what is required? Humility and selflessness is required. A servant leadership will be true servant leadership only when there is a selflessness. Modeling integrity and authenticity, as I mentioned, and inspiring and influencing others. We are working in the society, we are working with the group, we are working with the family, we are working in a nation, and therefore, in that case to build the nation, to build the society, to build the organization, it is become very, very important that is the servant leaders should be inspiring and influencing others people. Leaden et al. In 2008, they have talked about the servant leadership, as I talked about the empowerment earlier also, to empower others, right. Let them lead their own lives, helping subordinates grow. It is not, that is to check that is subordinate should not grow. One should not be feel this, one should not be scared, that is my subordinate is growing more than me, rather than then what to do? If subordinate is very competent, what should we do? Whether we should stop him or allow him to come to my position. And then in that case it will be very important that is the we have to help the subordinates to grow, and we should also grow, please understand. But if we will be stagnant, then in that case we will not allow our subordinate to grow, because we are not growing. So, if we are not growing, then there might be a possibility as a weak human being, that is we will say find that is our subordinates also do not grow. So, therefore, because sharing of power will be there, and many people are scaring of this sharing of power, but that is wrong. Emotional healing, earlier in the previous slides I have talked about it, is the emotional healing is very, very important in the time of when the person is getting upset and the time when he is getting hurt, and then in that case the servant leader should provide a support, and therefore he should try to heal that emotional problems. Conceptual skills, already a lot has been talked in this particular course. Creating value for community. In the previous slide also you will find that is we talking about the build the community. So, here when we talk about the build the community, then it will be always that is how we are going for this creating value for the community, and then we are going for this particular builds the community. So, in the all the aspects of the servant leadership, it is becoming very, very important that is we are able to create the wealth for the society, and that wealth is the value system wealth. It is not the financial wealth, rather than the value system wealth, and therefore, we are creating the value for community and the behaving ethically. This will be the last slide which I would like to share with you before I end this particular session. What is the leadership? As I mentioned, leadership is to influence the behavior of others, and that is a transforming the behavior of others is there. Then there will be voluntarily subordination, that is to serve the others. Then the authentic self, definitely in that case you are having that particular mastery of yourself, and therefore you are able to do that particular service. Then the transcendental spirituality, I have talked earlier also, that is and I will speak later on also in further sessions about the spiritual quotients, and then in that case naturally what is that? When you are doing the servant leadership, it is a value system under the spirituality, because you are spreading the spirituality from one to another, and conventional relationship will be there. And when we talk about like example Guru Shishya Parampara, the mentoring process, and therefore, that is a conventional relationship will be always there. Then the responsible morality will be there, and the people will be having the responsible moral. When Dundalk and the Newstein, they have now talked about the all these values which I have talked about, the empowerment, humility, the standing back. This is becoming very important. In case of the, when we talk about the standing back, it means that is the leader is always the supporting to the others. There is a authenticity. I have talked already. Forgiveness, I have taken the full session earlier, and if we talk about, that is the value of forgiveness is to be there. For this purpose, the leader should have the courage, accountability, and the value system to serve others, and that is the stewardship. If the proper stewardship is there, then definitely, because the servant leader, he wants to help others, to serve others, then definitely it will be the servant leadership which will be having this particular process of serve the society, building the community, helping others, forgiveness, and developing the subordinate, and making the organization also a good workplace, rather great workplace. So, these are the certain characteristics of the servant leadership. Thank you.